Hey guys, GHZD here, back with another video. Today I am doing a rush guide for an Abyss. Now, guides have been done in the past on the Abyss of Demons, but I haven't really seen too much stuff or detail on the actual rushing aspect of it. Those tutorials more so are targeted towards actually the enemy types, what they shoot and all that kind of stuff, and how to deal with the boss. But in this tutorial, I'll be giving you tips, class tips especially, for rushing an Abyss with a level 70 pet, but my pet that I have in the video is 70-66. It would be kind of a stupid tutorial if I used my max divine pet to do this, so I have chosen to do a lesser upgraded pet, one that is more achievable normally without having to pay anything in-game, which is fine. And yeah, it's exactly the same concept, but there is a couple more things that you need to be wary of. Now, classes that I would recommend with this pet level, they're more so targeted to actually how easy it is to rush with the class. With a knight, even though it's possible, I wouldn't recommend rushing on a knight, even if it is maxed. I mean, all of you guys, I'm sure a lot of you watching, you'll be like, but it's hell easy to rush an Abyss on a maxed knight with a level 70 pet. Yes, it is quite easy. However, in this tutorial, I'll be showing you the easiest and the safest ways to rush, because I'm sure all of you have come to this tutorial to actually find out how to do it safely and effectively. So, without further ado, the best class, in my opinion, to rush an Abyss with this level pet is a Paladin. The reasons behind this I'll explain as I do the tutorial. Now, there are also some other subcategories of classes that I'll also explain, such as the Priest and the Rogue that can rush the Abyss of Demons, but that is specified more to your skill level and the items that you have for that class. And yeah, so without further ado, let's get straight into the grit of this stuff. So the first thing to be aware of is the Paladin's ability to increase his damage and the ability to heal. Because of this, you can actually most of the time one-shot every single enemy in here except for the charging brutes. The ones that you can see following me shooting out the 3 spray are the brutes, so don't be too scared of those. What you've really got to be focusing on is what's in front of you. Then you focus on what's behind you when you have an opportunity. So because the enemies in the Abyss do huge amounts of damage, it's imperative that you continue your momentum so that they can't actually hit you. Most of the time, they won't actually register that you're there in time for you to be hit, and if you keep moving, they will most likely miss you. It is inevitable that you're going to be hit whilst rushing an Abyss, but your pet should take care of most of the damage and help replenish that. Because I'm a Paladin, the healing aspect of my ability increases that as well, so that's fine. A trick that I use when rushing an Abyss all the time is to keep physically looking at what's coming in front of you, keep looking at your map, and never rotate your screen. That's a little bit of just a personal preference for me, because I love not rotating my screen in an Abyss because I get really disoriented. So it's just something you can choose to do or not. I choose to keep my screen at 0 when I'm not in the boss room. And yeah, that's just a personal preference thing. Now, with an Abyss, when you're rushing, you need to be aware of not backtracking too early on. You've got to be able to take your stand and make sure you stay in control of a situation that you could potentially get yourself wrecked on. Now, that includes dead ends. Dead ends in an Abyss are ridiculous. You'll get them all the time, and when you're in mid-rush, it can be quite fatal if you do not have an electric pet. Because I don't have an electric pet, I do actually have to deal with this a couple of times, and what you've really got to be careful of is those brutes following you. When you hit a dead end, they'll all come in straight away, start hitting you like, oh my god, I need to nexus. What you don't want to do is that, obviously, because you want to stay in. The best option that you have is to, when you hit the dead end, go down into one of the corners and then rotate up. That way the brutes actually follow a circular pattern around you and continue that momentum aspect that I was talking about beforehand. So because of that, they won't actually be able to hit you, and then you just keep firing back and then you clear them out. Every time you come to a dead end, you want to clear out the enemies before proceeding back on again, because obviously those enemies would have been dragged all the way over to this dead end, and you just need to be a little bit careful. Don't be too scared. Oh no, I'm losing my rush. I'm not rushing anymore because I'm clearing enemies. It's better safe than sorry, especially with a lesser pet such as a level 70. Now, level 70 might be a little bit too much for you. It is fine. You can do it with a lesser pet. You've just got to be a little more little more slow, really. That's all you've really got to do. Something that I often do when rushing these abysses is shooting in front of me just as I enter a new room, and then as I'm going through the room, proceed to then shoot backwards. Really what you've got to do with a ability that allows you to kill enemies pretty much in one shot, such as the Paladin. It also works with the Warrior because you have enough attack to instantly kill the enemies most of the time. But with the Paladin, really what you've got to get pretty good at is targeting and then picking which enemies you need to kill pretty quickly and then taking them out. Now, if you get into a sticky situation, you'll eventually get the ability to register which enemies you've got to take out first before clearing out the rest. This usually includes the big shot guys. I don't know what they're called. They're just kind of bland looking demons, but they do huge amounts of damage. You've always got to be constantly aware of which ones are those. Once you take care of those guys, the rest don't do too much damage if you're on a melee, and you can just clear those out. Because you kill them in one shot, if you have your maxed dex, that will be a piece of cake. You'll be spraying your bullets around the room, and they'll just disappear, and then you just need to worry about the brute charges that are following you. Something else about the Abyss of Demons is the lava on the floor and the tiles that go over the lava. Really what you've got to be careful of is long rooms of continuous lava. That is where you actually don't have the ability to move around in any direction, so you're forced into taking damage. These can be potentially very dangerous if you've dragged a lot of enemies behind you. So if you come across a long chain of rooms, honestly, it's just better if you clear out the rooms. Like, don't even bother rushing unless you have a pretty good pet or you're pretty confident with yourself. Most of the time, if you're skilled enough, you can actually just rush through these lava rooms and you actually have the ability to kill off the enemies before they become too significant to you. And if you get a lot of practice, being on a Paladin will allow you to kill off the enemies before they even have the ability to attack you. That's something that I love so much about the Paladin. It helps so much with rushing, and you've just always got to be clearing out every single enemy or as many enemies as you can in the preceding rooms of your rush. That way, you don't take as much damage and you manage the enemies in a more controlled environment. You'll also notice as I rush that I don't directly go to places. I more so kind of arch around enemies to kind of avoid going straight through the enemy itself. If you do that, you'll end up taking shotguns. It's not a good thing, obviously, because you want to keep your health at a relatively high rate just in case you get into a sticky situation. You want to be on full health and you want to be able to have that tanking ability. It's not fun if you start getting low on health and then you continue your rush. It's very, very recommended that you actually replenish your health. Just chill there for a bit, use your Paladin's ability and just regen some of that health. It's always beneficial to you. Rushing an Abyss isn't something that you'll be able to do overnight. You need to get a lot of practice with this, and I highly recommend that you actually go out and do that, because rushing an Abyss will give lots of def and vit. That's really good. You can get a Deer Blade as a white backdrop, and it's just overall a very, very, very profitable dungeon, especially if you're new to the game or if you've been playing for a while and you want to increase your wealth, because def, as you already know, can be traded for life quite easily or with relative ease, and that can just progress from there, and you can max dex on all your characters, and it's so good. Now, I said there were two other classes that are pretty good at rushing, and those include the rogue and the priest. I'll show you how to do it on a rogue, as you can see I found an Abyss here. And yeah, so with a rogue, because you can cloak, you can bypass rooms without being seen by the enemies. Make sure you have full MP before you start this. Sometimes you can get into sticky situations where you need to use health potions. I think I need to use a couple because I wasn't too used to being on my rogue without my divine pet. Just normal withdrawal symptoms, I guess. But yeah, basically count down as you're rushing. When you cloak, make sure you know exactly how long it takes before you uncloak. With this one that I've equipped, I think it's 5.5 seconds. So I was counting 5 seconds, and then I would be prepared, and you get yourself into a position where you feel comfortable uncloaking and that kind of situation. If you get into a long lava room like this, you kind of panic. I got really low on health here, so I decided might as well drink a couple of health potions just in case. And then I kept going. So it's not really too hard. The extra speed is a little bit sketchy when you're walking through lava because you actually take more damage the faster you move. And yeah, it was really as simple as that. Because you move fast, it usually goes over nice and quickly. You can usually clear about 3 or 4 rooms in one cloak, and that's very handy. It's just a nice tip to use, I guess. The priest, on the other hand, is a little bit different, obviously, because it doesn't cloak and it uses and uses its ability. As I said at the beginning of the tutorial, this class actually is highly dependent on whether or not you have the Tome of Holy Protection, which gives you an armor buff similar to the Jug of the Warrior. I think it results in you getting double your defense, so that's pretty good. You can tank a lot of shots. I probably wouldn't recommend doing this on a level 70 pet. As I found out whilst trying to make this, I was taking a lot of damage as I realized, and I had to keep replenishing my mana because it was consuming a lot. Personally, I'll just stick to the Rogue and the Paladin because those two classes seem to be able to do it nice and well. If you want to be able to rush effectively, maxing is pretty good. It's a pretty good idea, but that is semi-paradoxic in nature because you're probably doing Abysses for the defense in the first place, and if you haven't maxed defense, how are you supposed to have maxed defense before doing this? Defense drops other places, I'm just going to say. It doesn't just drop in the Abyss of Demons. I usually max out my defense in other places than the Abyss, but it's also doable when you're unmaxed, as I'm sure all of you, or a lot of you, already know. And yeah, I just wanted to make this tutorial because it kind of seemed like there wasn't enough content explaining exactly how I do it, I guess, and I'm hoping it'll help you guys out a lot if you don't already know how to do it. But honestly guys, experience is the best advice I can give. Just keep doing Abysses, you'll eventually get the hang of it, and you'll get to know what you can and can't do with your own pet levels. I just wanted to reduce my pet level from level 100, because obviously not everybody's able to get something like that, and I just wanted to make it more kind of general, so it applies to a lot of other people. If you've got a legendary pet, even better, because if you have the third ability, and if it is electric, you won't need to worry about enemies backtracking and then absolutely wrecking you. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I actually enjoyed making this one. It was very fun to play on my less leveled pet again. It kind of brought me back and gave me a bit of nostalgia whilst I was playing. It's a very good time. It's not too challenging, to be honest. I mean, Abyss rushing was a little bit tedious with my priest, but I got it done, as you do. So yeah, I hope you liked it. Like, comment, subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.